Okay, hey, what's up, everybody? I just want to make this quick video. I don't actually know how long it's going to be. Playing on my monk, now a void elf. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I wanted to talk about a little Google Docs on the side here I'm going to be using, but I want to talk about the Mythic Plus system. My personal likes and dislikes with it, basically. What I think is good and bad about it, because Mythic Plus seems to be one of the driving forces of content in Legion, and I really don't like it. And it seems like a lot of the people that I talk to, honestly, do like it or have positive opinions about it, and from interacting with them, I felt like my opinion was unpopular. And so I guess I want to make this video to put it out there to see what other people think. So I'll start with the things that I actually like about it, or I think are good. I don't necessarily like it, but I think it's good. I think Mythic Plus is good because it provides content, and content is fun. I think that it's good because it gives you gear, and gear is good. I think that it's good because it gives you some sort of progression outside of raiding. You can push high keys. You can push your limits even if you're not that great of a player. You can have that feeling of trying really hard and being competitive in a PvE environment outside of raiding. The 5-mans and the way the dungeons are set up, I think that it's supposed to be easier to put together and more accessible to people. You don't need a 10, 15-man raid group. You don't need all this stuff. You can just hop into some dungeons. In theory, that's what it seems like is the idea behind it. Maybe I'm assuming too much there, but it definitely does. It would make sense if you were like, 5-mans are easier to get a group together, so it's more accessible content for people. Like, for example, I have a friend, and their guild group is made of friends, and it's a small guild. And so they don't have a raid team, but because Mythic Plus exists, they are able to get kind of their competitive spirit out and their progression with just their little small group. I think that's really cool, actually. When I played in Cataclysm and I was raiding a lot, I was in a 10-man raid squad. I really like that. I like the smaller sizes because they're easier to put together. I don't think that something like 10-man should be more as competitive as 25-man. But I also like that 10-man existed because it was so much easier to get into and it was really chill. So I feel like Mythic Plus is in the same spirit as 10-man raids were, or in a similar spirit, just on a smaller scale. And so that's why I think the Mythic Plus system is good, or I like it. Why I think it's bad, well, first of all, you have to recognize two important facts that nobody's really mentioned, and when I talk to people, they just don't really seem to pay attention to it at all. The first is that the Mythic Plus system is it's inspired by two things, and it's kind of a combination, but not really. First of all, it's taken the structure and the format with the key thing, the little stone, with the barrier and the time and the dungeon speedrunning and all that. That's from their challenge mode system. There's a lot of people who came into Legion new, but I also, now that the game's really dropping off, I've been seeing a lot of people with challenge modes from either WoD or Pandaria. I have both of them on my warrior. So I don't have them. I did it with my friend group. I didn't boost. I know a lot of people in WoD were just buying the carry. So I remember specifically Pandaria very fondly. It was really fun for challenge modes. And so when Mythic Plus came out, when Legion was coming out, I was like extremely surprised. I was like, what is going to happen at challenge modes? That's the first thing I thought, because that was an iconic thing for me. Since they introduced it, I'm so excited to do it, excited to get the gear. I wasn't pushing any titles or anything, in Pandaria. I just wanted to get the gold for the transmogging, so it was so fun. I fucking love challenge modes from Pandaria. Challenge modes in WoD were, the rewards were just not worth it. Like, the weapons are okay, but comparing an entire armor set of badassness customized for your character to like these weapons that you can then transmog on every other character, it's like with the whole wardrobe system, it's like, I don't know, I didn't like it as much. But then, you know, going into Legion, Mythic Plus, what happens to challenge modes? Well, it turns out they're basically gone. Challenge modes are gone. Well, I'm fucking pissed. They just put in the Mythic Plus system and removed challenge modes. That's not worth it to me. If I wanted the content, if I wanted the gear, if I wanted progression, I would have just raided. There was already a system in place for that. And they removed something that was special and unique in place of content that already existed, if that makes sense. The original challenge mode system was unique to the game and it filled a special role. The new Mythic Plus system was a branching off of what raiding does for you. PvE, competitive PvE encounters with gear and loot and content. Challenge modes was not about that. And so the other thing that you need to understand about Mythic Plus that it was inspired by is from Diablo 3. Diablo 3 has the Rift and Greater Rift system where you put a keystone in and you complete the instance or instances, whatever levels you're going to, in a certain amount of time or by filling up a bar from killing monsters, and then you fight the boss at the end. And you would get really good loot, really good gear from this. And this was the content for, I'd say, I don't know how many years, but whenever it came out, it basically dominated. It was supposed to be the main source in the game. Like, that's what you do when you go play Diablo 3. Even right now, you go do your rifts and your greater rifts. And doing higher keystones with the greater rifts, that was your progression, right? That was like the Mythic Plus. And you get all the loot in the end. In the greater rift system, you get all the loot in the end. It's basically Mythic Plus, right? And so the thing is that I'm not trying to make a point about the system being copied or anything like that. I do think that it should be recognized that Mythic Plus system is not unique or original. Really? It's actually just kind of, I don't even really know if there's, it's just like an application of two concepts that existed in the Blizzard universe already. What I'm trying to make a point about is that, one, with the challenge modes, I'm pissed off that they removed them for getting Mythic Plus. That's like the worst trade-off I've ever seen. But with the Diablo 3, the thing is that since it's so similar to the Greater Rift system, Mythic Plus is, we actually have already seen what happened to the Greater Rift system, which is it basically killed the game. It's so fucking boring. It was so shitty, and it still is so shitty to know that when you hit max level, the only thing you're going to be doing is running these instances over and over and over and over again for fucking hundreds of hours if you want to be competitive, right? That's fucking insane. It drove me insane. I have more fun leveling my characters in Diablo 3 now than playing them at the end game. The only reason the end game is any interesting is because it's fun to get the set bonuses. You know, when a new season comes out, you get your set bonuses. It's fun to power up your character. But at some point, your character will be all powered up either for your taste or for the optimal specs, you know, all your rings, everything. And then you'll just have to repeatedly farm content over and over and over again, and it's fucking awful. And so, you go into the Mythic Plus world, and it's like, this is my thinking. Why would you take so much from a system and not fix or change what is bad about it, or even address what was bad about it, which is the repeatableness of the content is fucking insanely boring and shitty. When you look at Mythic Plus, what is the main issue? It's like people are like, we have to run dungeons over and over and over and over. Oh, I've done Maw of Souls X amount of times. Oh, I've done this fucking 5 million times. Holy shit. Oh, there's a new affix every week. Okay, cool. It's like, at some point, people are not going to want to run Maw of Souls, Black or Cold. Like, the dungeons, this was the thing with challenge modes, is that the dungeons are supposed to be hard. They are supposed to be hard. They are supposed to be difficult progression. They're not, like, for me doing challenge modes, it wasn't actually fun in the sense of, wow, I really like being in this dungeon and killing stuff. It was rewarding and it was satisfying to try really hard at difficult things. But, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you want me to go into Blackrook Hold with, like, Sanguine, right? And go up the spider stair. How many times? Okay, I'll do it the first time, fine. All right, I'll do it the second time, fine. But I don't even, like, play Mythic Plus to the point that a lot of people do. This is actually probably the most, on this character, on my monk, the most that I've played it. And that's because I already get bored, because I played a lot of Diablo 3 in the past, and so this kind of system is just... I'm starting to run out of this train of thought here, but I hope you understand the point. The point is that repeatable content is boring. It's positive in the sense that you will never run out of content, but if the thing that you're never running out of is the same thing and it never gets changed, like the affixes do not do nearly enough to affect it. And it's like maybe they release a new dungeon, but very quickly it will just fall into the same trap. I actually think the system itself is flawed. I think that the system of repeating, like the Greater Rift or the Mythic Plus, the Keystone Run over and over and over and over again, that is what's flawed. I actually think that the positive of challenge modes is that there was a limit. If you wanted to, and it seems this way with the Mythic Plus, they're doing the Mythic Plus Invitational, there are always people in games who are going to be playing at the highest level and competing, even if it's insanely boring, even if it's soul-sucking, because they're so competitive. In challenge modes, you could have that group of people with the running for the titles, right, in Pandaria. But there was a natural stopping point, bronze, silver, gold. These were natural stopping points where you were done. When I got my challenge mode gold, even though they weren't good runs, I was done. I felt like everything was completed. With Mythic Plus, there's none of that. You don't get that at all. You never feel like you're done. Because everything is so random, also with the gearing, and the Titan Forging and the War Forging, it's like you're actually never done running Mythic Plus. I don't think it's possible to be done running Mythic Plus. That feels really bad. I don't like that. I don't think people like that. There are some people who may, but I think for the most part, people like things to be completed. They like to be finished. I guess talking about open-ended, and I was actually thinking about single-player games. Right? Like, what if you played a single-player game like The Witcher or something, and it just never, I don't know. Like, they end for a reason, right? There has to be some sort of finishing point. When you read a book, when you listen to a song, right? People, like, there has to be closure. That's what I think about. And with the Mythic Plus system, it's almost impossible because it's so random. And it's not fun. It's not fun. If it was fun, I wouldn't care, Like, I could play a game endlessly. You could replay games over and over again if you want. If they're fun, that's what's really important. And the Mythic Plus, like, the dungeons are not fun. I actually think that's why challenge mode was successful, is because dungeons are hard and punishing. That doesn't make for repeatable content. And repeatable content, it shouldn't be this big part of the... That was the problem with D3, is that it was the whole game. I'll stop this point here, because now I'm just rambling and ranting, and I wanted to make this a more, I guess, structured video than that. But yeah, they saw in D3 you shouldn't make that system the big part of the game, and that's what happened in Legion, is that because it's repeatable, everyone's going to go back to it as their base for PvE, which is not healthy. It should have fulfilled a niche, or a niche, I don't know how to say the word, the way that challenge modes filled a unique spot in the game. I'm not opposed to these dungeons giving loot, but I am opposed to it becoming this sort of streamlined baseline content. Okay, I gotta move on. In theory, one of the things is that by having a smaller scale, I believe they wanted this content to be more accessible. So with having 5-mans and being able to do dungeons, you wouldn't have to know raids, blah, blah, blah. It's easier to put a group together, blah, blah, blah. My experience in challenge modes, the dungeons are really, really, really fucking hard. It turns out, actually, probably in life too, that squad, like the 5-man squad style of coordination and teamwork is just totally different than raiding. It's just a different thing entirely than the mass. I guess the mass is like the army style, if you will, right? Where you have tons of people in your raid group. And so it's not easier, it's different. And that different, I actually think, is harder. I think that 5-man dungeons with the coordination, they are harder. And so it's actually harder content than raiding. And I think this is the case right now with high Mythic Plus, is that high Mythic Plus is harder than the Mythic rating. And so there's an issue with this to me, which is that when you have content that requires squad level teamwork, you have to have very tight-knit and meshed communication, right? There has to be a level of communication that is, like in raiding, no one's talking, raid leader's talking, right? In Mythic Plus, there should be more talking, more coordination to an extent. Or what I think optimally would happen, and what does happen, is you have your whole plan set up beforehand so nobody has to talk, right? But even when you're setting up the plan, there's this connection between people that you're not really seeing in a raid environment. This really more personal and close-knit relationship. Or connection, not really relationship. And so that's not good for pugging. It's like horrible for pugging. It's actually the opposite of what you want in pugs, right? You do not, it's making it team-based and squad-based with high communication. Horrible. That is not what pugs are at all. And so Mythic Plus, it's like, okay, what you do is you join a guild and you get your 5-man squad and you guys play all the time, right? You have 5 good players and you play. And it's from your guild, you know them, you play with them all the time. You see them in Discord, right? You have the voice. It's all good. But Mythic Plus is the baseline of the gearing content in Legion right now. It gives you the gear, it's something to do, it gives you your weekly chest, blah. You get your artifact power, whatever. You get all the rewards from Mythic Plus. When you can't raid on your raid days, you're going to be doing Mythic Plus if you want to play the game. And not everybody has a guild or players that they want to play with that are like really good or high level. Like, it doesn't work out like that. There's this whole social aspect to getting like a 5-man squad together. And that's not easy to do, especially in Legion, because the social game is so destroyed. Like, the guilds are so dead, right? Guilds are fucking dead in Legion. There's so much pugging. And so people are going to pug Mythic Plus. But it sucks, because pugging sucks for Mythic Plus. But everyone is going to pug Mythic Plus, or try to. That seems inherently flawed. That seems like the system is fucked up. When the thing that is bad for Mythic Plus, pugging, is happening a lot. And it seems like people, it's not like people are retarded. It's like, I actually think that they're logically understanding the situation, where it's like, whether they realize it or not, it's like they're not idiots. Like, they're pugging Mythic Plus because it makes sense to pug Mythic Plus, right? Like, I actually think it does make sense to join a group for a Mythic Plus. And it's accessible for people. Like, that was the goal. It's just a 5-man squad, you know, instead of trying to get into a pug raid, get into a pug Mythic Plus. It's great. And, you know, Legion's all about pugging stuff, right? So it's not like the people are the issue. Like, they're just doing what makes sense to them in the game. But what they're getting is, like, fucking awful. If you get, like, an actually decent Mythic Plus group, and I've been in a couple of them, it's, like, nice. But I've been in some where people just leave. Like, you fucking die, like, 10 times, and they just left, and now the entire run is fucked because the guy left. Like, holy shit, that's, like, actually such an awful experience to have. So now you just have to quit the thing, the person's key is dead, it's like, everything is lost. It feels like you just got insanely punished, and you didn't even do anything wrong. What else did I have here? Yeah, just that people, because gear drops, like, of course people are going to try and do it in some manner, and pugging is the way to do content in Legion. So people are going to pug it for the gear. Yeah, so that's the stuff that I really don't like about Mythic Plus, and some of the stuff I do like. I do see the positives. Honestly, my biggest quip is the thing I was ranting about before, where they've seen it in Diablo. They've seen a very similar system in Diablo, and it's like they're just running into the same errors. It's like they've learned nothing. I don't understand how that's possible. That's very difficult for me to understand in terms of game design, because I actually think that a lot of the other game design flaws are not that obvious, and they only came out as the thing was implemented, right? So the fact that people are pugging is like a Legion thing. You know, you go back in time to like old school, people aren't pugging as much, right? The 5-man dungeon thing, you probably could, like, the fact that it's hard to play in a squad, maybe you could have seen from challenge modes, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. It's kind of a minor point, but the fact that it's boring, repeatable content and it makes you want to kill yourself, basically, that was obvious in Diablo for anyone who's playing Diablo, and they just did the same fucking thing. So, in terms of the bad stuff, that's really where I'm concerned. That's what makes me concerned. In terms of the good stuff, whatever, I get it. You want to put some sort of baseline of gearing and content. I think that's retarded. I think it's fucking dumb, because what happened before like Mythic Plus or Legion with world questing, you just, when you didn't have anything to do, you would go do achievements. You'd go out into the world, wherever in the world you want to. The World of Warcraft. I would go farm mounts. I would go farm old raids. I would do whatever the fuck. Maybe I want to do Lore Master or some shit. And it's like when Legion came out, they want you to stay on Legion. They want all of that time you spent doing those things is now spent on World Quest and Mythic Plus. Or it's supposed to be. I disagree with that. I don't think they need to put in this kind of repeatable content as a baseline. I think it was fine the way it was before. With, if you want to go and do things, you can do them. I don't like doing things being forced upon you. It's a role-playing game, right? This isn't a fucking shooter. It's not a fighting game. It's a role-playing game. It's fun to just exist, like right now. Like literally this video is me standing on my character doing nothing. I'm fucking doing nothing. But this is actually fun. Like this is the point of the game. This is it. I just feel like that was definitely missed in Legion. Alright, so that was probably longer than I wanted to, but I don't care. I suck at making videos, so I'm just going to keep making them until I'm good at it. I hope all the volume and stuff was all good. Anyway, I'll leave you on this note. This is, I went Void Elf, right? And so I was trying some cool monk strats. Let me see how I'm going to set this up. So I was like, you put a trance down. This is what I want to try and do in like an actual situation, right? So let me get like max trance range. It's so laggy. So it's like here, right? And so it's like, how am I going to do this? Yeah, so maybe I'm over here and I go bam. I throw my Void Elf thing, you know. Whee! Whoa! Oh, it didn't go quick enough. Yeah. Why did that... Oh, that went a lot farther than I thought it would. Anyway, I was thinking about using the Spatial Rift to... I run far, and I Spatial Rift backwards, right? And then I do like a massive trance, like boom, boom, right? Spatial Rift trance. I can't show it again because it's a 3-minute cooldown, but yeah, if you get the idea. That's something I was trying on my Void Elf monk. I think that'd be pretty fun. I was thinking about ways to pull it off. It's kind of weird in PvP, but in PvE, I actually think if you have the planning of the movement, you could use it. Otherwise, I wouldn't suggest playing Void Elf monk. It's kind of wasted. It's so hard to find any application for it just because I already have so many movement abilities that I could be using. It's just like a second trance. So, anyway, thanks for watching the video. I'll make another one soon. Peace.